Okay, here for another round of talk about Pandiatonic Harmony. And so I'll just read off of a couple of pieces of paper I have. And again, I'll put this, I'll link up so you can get more on this if you desire it. And there's some examples, also some sound bites, a few compositions. The blog I have is pretty old, so I haven't really kept it up and added to it and changed it. I probably would modify it quite a bit, but there's some stuff on it that you might find useful. So here goes. Overview. For years, musicians have tinkered with ways to expand the harmonic palette, devising systems or else no systems at all in this pursuit. In the classical world, Stravinsky, Ives, Berg, Schoenberg, and a host of others that we don't need to try to list because there's too many, did amazing things to broaden musical vocabulary. In the jazz world, this list is equally long or longer, with names like John Coltrane and Miles Davis coming to the forefront, or not. While polytonal, 12-tonal, and atonal schools of thought have been more prevalent in the classical world, outside and free playing have made substantial advances in jazz over approximately the last 50 years, or whatever. Often jazz improvisations will slide in and out of these more, quote, expanded, unquote, sorts of harmonies intuitively, implying a relation to other keys without any systematic underpinning. Obviously, playing instinctively is not a problem, with numerous examples that attest to the skills of many gifted jazz soloists. Conversely, there have been jazz musicians who have supported the direction of the outside work more systematically. Their outside work more systematically. What I hope to provide is a framework that will give input for writing and improvising, one that simplifies some of what has been labeled, quote, outside, unquote, which at times implies outside the realm of understanding. And this can be obtained or could be obtained exclusively only through impulse or inspiration. My focus will be primarily on jazz guitar and how what I will call pandiatonic harmony relates to it. Okay, so how did I come up with this idea? Like I said in the other video, I'm not the only one who's ever thought like this, but it kind of came as a light bulb over my head when I was 17 or 18, because I remember I was still in high school. This is going to be a big history moment. I graduated from high school in 1979. Whoa! So yeah, it's a long time, long time ago that I was 17. But I vaguely remember it. That was in the 1970s, as I said. So how did I come up with this idea? As I began to learn my scales and arpeggios in high school, I started to notice the inconsistencies with the diatonic system. When I played arpeggios diatonically, I saw that there was a glitch in the pattern. Birds are chirping, that's cool. The thirds progressed from major to minor, to major to minor, to minor to major to minor. Like this. C, E, G, B, D, A, C. That's what I do. The pattern of alternating major third to minor third was broken when D only went up to a minor third to F, rather than continue the pattern with a major third landing on an F sharp. The same indiscrepancy occurred when A failed to go up a major third to C sharp and instead only ascended a minor third landing on C. So what, right? Okay, I was asking the same thing. So I decided to try a more consistent pattern for constructing arpeggios. I would consistently alternate from major third to minor third. For a start, I got this. C, E, G, D, F sharp. I found that the flatted fifth provided an F sharp by this F sharp was a pleasant surprise, and obviously a familiar sound to the jazz world. But the next departure from the key of C was a bit more alarming. Oh no, a flatted ninth in a major key, like this: C, E, G, B, D, F sharp, A, C sharp. That is, when you're going alternating consistently. This led me to the conclusion that alternating major third to minor third construction, if used consistently, would promptly lead you right out of the key. It raised questions like, if F sharp, a flatted fifth in the key of C, is an acceptable and sought after sound in jazz harmony, often used as an embellishment for major 7 chords, why isn't C sharp, the flatted ninth, equally acceptable for major 7th chords? Especially since both pitches are derived from simply following the same non-diatonic, yet logically consistent, alternation of major minor thirds, which would go like this: C, E, G, B, D, F sharp, A, C sharp. And what would happen to the diatonic, what was it, 8, celery. And what would happen to diatonic harmony if the key of C, in the key of C, if this logical progression was followed consistently beyond F sharp and C sharp to other points of dissonance, like G sharp, D sharp, and A sharp, like this: C, E, G, B, D, F sharp, A, C sharp, E, G sharp, B, D sharp, F sharp, A sharp. I also noticed the presence of a hexachord of stacked fifths within this arpeggio. I'll pronounce them a little bit louder: C, E, G, B, D, F sharp, A, C sharp, E, G sharp, B, D sharp, F sharp, A sharp. I guess that was a lot louder. These 6 diatonically anchored pitches, that's hexachord 6, will become important in developing a sense of relative usefulness when applying the almost limitless choices provided by this sequence of notes, as well as a vocabulary of chord voicings that are I always hate to say this, pandiatonically compatible. Okay, whatever. I wrote it. Yeah, I was going to say, who wrote this stuff? I did. As I continued to tinker with this idea of consistently alternating major and minor thirds, I noticed that I was hearing sounds like those of some of my favorites: Wayne Shorter, Herbie Hancock, and many others whose modernisms, so-called modernisms, had delighted but previously baffled me. I had obviously not found the oracle of all harmonic wisdom, God forbid, but at least a tool to help decode some of the incredible sounds of some of these incredible players. Wow, yeah, celery. Tastes good, though. I found that continuing through this pandiatonic arpeggio, the term I began to use for the result of consistently following the pattern of major to minor thirds, would eventually make a complete cycle. Of course it would. Ending where it began, running through all 12 diatonic systems, or keys, a total of 24 notes, all 12 pitches, all 12 major and minor triads, from which there would consistently come a redefining of the term key. I found that the pandiatonic arpeggio may be seen as a harmonic backbone connecting all keys. It in turn creates a framework of stacked perfect fifths, each composed of consistently alternating major and minor thirds. I used the term hexachord to label these fifths within the pandiatonic arpeggio. I think I already said that. The hexachord, through this self-imposed limitation of only 6 notes, remains rooted in diatonic harmony while simultaneously acting as the means to transcend it. C, G, D, A, E, B. Each note of the hexachord acts as a portal. Whoa, that sounds sci-fi, doesn't it? Oh, brother. A point of departure into what is often considered outside. Okay, you can think of that quarterly um, in scale playing and improvisation, and composition, whatever you're doing. Kind of the same way that people do with pentatonic scales. Um, Started with a pentatonic scale, shifted around from here to here to here, connected with common tones, etc. Some of these ideas maybe you've heard, and you get some cool stuff. Listen to McCoy Tyner, for example, and many others. Okay, so this unity between diatonic tradition and pandiatonic expansion provides an internal integrity that accounts for generating outside yet familiar music. Since I can't talk, let me say that again. Well, that's ironic too, isn't it? It's pandiatonically absurd. Here we go. This unity between diatonic tradition and pandiatonic expansion provides an internal integrity and accounts for generating outside, so-called outside, yet so-called familiar music. And I would point to one of the granddaddies of that kind of thinking, like I said, will be Alban Berg. Familiar, yet stretching your ears a bit. The wow factor is there, but tradition is there too, and it has a lot to do with thirds and stacked fifths. Okay. What does this imply as far as possibilities for chords? What about scales? What about improvisation, composition? The material below is for you to investigate, argue with, compromise with, and apply as you find useful. Enough said for now. Okay? Bye-bye. Adios.